Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is November 19th, 2019. Today's podcast will consist on the whole Fallout issue with Don Cherry and Jess Allen and comments being made in big bad words and more ghost hunting. All that more coming up on the Krusty Connect podcast. Stay tuned.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthy.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. What I mentioned earlier in regards to Don Cherry and Jess Allen. Yes, the whole controversy and comments made. Don Cherry making his comments on Coach's Corner. And, of course, the ever so timed Whitley rebuttal from the Ladies League on The Social. Yes, The Social. Such an informative show that is. Not. Okay, so let's weigh in. If those of you who have followed Coach's Corner for a very, very long time, like myself, my father, other hockey fans, other Canucks such as myself, and all around general public, you've always seen and heard the difference of opinion between Ron MacLean and Don Cherry, respectively. That is what makes that duo so dynamic. You know, they always come across as Ron MacLean, the Mr. Level-Headed ex-hockey ref, and Don Cherry, the outspoken and well-to-do ex-coach. You know, he coached Boston back in the 70s. He coached Colorado Rockies before they became the New Jersey Devils. And he's been involved with hockey all of his natural life, as well as made himself a millionaire by business deals and chains of restaurants, what have you. I remember the TV show The Grapevine, Don Cherry's Grapevine, where he'd interview all the hockey stars of the day. Borje Salming, who played for Toronto. Bobby Orr, Rick Vive, who used to be a Maple Leaf. And the list goes on some of the people he conversed with in the game of hockey. Now, Don Cherry has always been outspoken when it comes to veterans, military, social challenges, what have you. But through every time that I have watched his program, he has never, ever, I say this again, ladies and gentlemen, he has never, ever been blatantly racist, blatantly sexist, blatantly misogynist, right? To quote some of these people who encourage this cancel culture. There's times I've disagreed with them. Disagreed about visors. I disagreed about certain face masks, you know. I've been chipped a couple times in the face while playing hockey, so yeah, I wore a visor for obvious reasons. You know, he would say something against that. But there was never any kind of letter writing campaign that I can think of that want to get him off the air, you know. Of course, government-sponsored broadcasters such as the CBC and certain radio stations, you know, have to call another government office to investigate him. I'll leave a link to some of these ridiculous investigations that Don Cherry's had after the podcast when you find it at the bottom of the page there. But see what I mean? And even online, when I posted on my webpage and Facebook that Don didn't deserve it. He didn't, folks. You know, as far as I'm concerned, he didn't deserve it. Maybe a stern talking to or a pee-pee slap or something like that. But the whole political outrage, what gets me is that people are always up in arms when a sportscaster or a broadcaster says something. And yet, our beloved cabinet, our elected officials, the past 4 to 5 years, they've been doing things and saying things that are just as stupid or, as some would say, a little more fucking horrendous in comparison to what Don Cherry said. Now, I have been in situations where I've been called you people, and I've been in situations where I've been called this and I've been called that. And you look at said individual who said it, okay. You turn around, you call him a bitch or a dick or whatever, or her a bitch or a dick, whatever. And there's never been any kind of ceremonious witch hunt or outcry over it. You know, those individuals, if they did something wrong, they were treated harshly, and they were punished harshly for it. But what I'm seeing here now is I'm seeing such outrage over a dynamic that has been going on for 38 years, right? Here's a guy, self-made, self-taught, basically, created such, what would you say? He created such a following and a dedication just because of his outspoken ways and because of what he has done. Now, he has been to Afghanistan to see the troops. He has met Americans and Canadian soldiers alike. And some American friends have actually sent me emails stating that, yeah, he's a class act. Not just because of his wealth, but because of the way he approaches things, you know. When he says magical words like kookaloos and stuff like that, talking about climate change and making fun of the Wyerton Willie issue. That was hilarious. That was just funny. And I'm pretty sure his intentions was to be funny too. Now, to some of my other friends out there who are worried about racial divide, I don't think he said anything racist, folks. You know, it might have been belligerent, it might have been somewhat ignorant, but not to a point where you get let down and be held accountable for Canada's social issues because of it. Now, with that being said, let's take Jess Allen, you know, one of the broadcasters on the show, The Social, CTV's knockoff of the American counterpart of The View. You know, all these ladies from diverse backgrounds weighing in on today's social challenges and aspects in media and what have you. And Miss Jess Allen, in her infinite wisdom, talking about hockey and how it impacted her in a negative way because she grew up with some bullies. And I'll leave a link at the bottom here, too, just for yourself. But when I look at people like Jess Allen, and there I am, I'm saying it, you people like Jess Allen. Ooh, I'm such a effective person. Sitting there weighing in because you had a bad experience with hockey, you know, and then labeling, oh, the white hockey boys or whatever she said. To sum it all up, she had to throw in the color there, too. Making it sound like that every kid that played hockey was one a goon or some kind of bigot or some kind of racist or some kind of misogynist. Now, I played organized hockey till I was about 15 years old, and then I stopped, right? I had no prospects of going anywhere other than just my local town leagues and just playing along and enjoying the sport for what it was. And I played with some kids that were good, and I played with some kids that were bad. You know, I don't recall any of them making it big in the OHL and the NHL. I don't recall too many of these so-called superstars that I played with getting any farther than high school hockey, or if they're lucky, maybe some post-secondary. But we all played the game, and yet there were buffoons, and there were goons, and there were idiots. And there were good players, and there were leaders, and there was quite a diverse mix of personalities involved with the game. And I played with quote-unquote black kids, and I played with native kids. I ended up coaching some kids later on, but that's another story. To make a long story short, regardless of what you get into and where you grew up, there is going to be a negative impact on something. And the point I'm trying to make to Miss Jess Allen is that your comment was just as terrible, if not more than terrible, than what Don Cherry said. Huh? Don Cherry said, you people. Now, you can think that he was directing it at brand new Canadian immigrants or brand new Canadians or immigrants of this or people of this color or that color, but he did not specify any certain color, any certain creed, any certain religion, or any certain ideology. You know? And it might have been brutish, but he made a valid point, as every other Canadian does. And it doesn't matter if you agree with it or not. People are on television making points all the fucking time. I'm here making a point, but I'm not forcing you to listen to my show, now am I? Right? There's many other podcasters and other homegrown broadcasters out there doing the same thing. People say this, people say that. Well, I don't agree with this, I don't agree with that. I have fellow soldiers that I served with who don't agree with some of my points. And I'm fortunate enough to engage with them in a positive and social manner. And we discuss it like adults should. But this whole cancel culture mentality where you take one guy, and it doesn't matter if he's 85 years old, and it doesn't matter if he's 45 years old. It doesn't matter if he's white, black, pink, purple, whatever. It doesn't matter if she's white, pink, black, or purple. Right? It is the same frickin' favoritist bullshit when it comes to, well, she said it, it's okay. He said it, well, it's not bad. Or it is bad if he says this, or it's bad if he says that. But she said it, so it's okay. You know, I don't care what apologies supposedly came out of CTV or the people at the Social. You know, she said a bad thing too, apparently. So why isn't she getting fired? If you're going to fire Don Cherry for saying that, then you fire Jess Allen too. Really? What's good for the goose is good for the fucking gander. Really? You know? I just explained my hockey story. You know, quote unquote, my lived experience. Right? And it wasn't bad, folks. You know? I was bullied too growing up. Right? And it come to a point in my life where I bullied back. And I stood my fucking ground. And I didn't take any shit. Well, so what's her excuse? What's your excuse, Miss Allen? Huh? You know? Oh, worship at the altar of hockey. Well, you're right. There's a lot of hockey enthusiasts out there. And a lot of people do worship the game because it's a great fucking sport. Football is a great sport. Basketball is a great sport. Soccer is a great sport. Lacrosse, now that's a fucking game to watch too. That's an amazing fucking sport, that one. Hell, I even take the time to watch some Scottish shinty once in a while. And Irish football. And hurling, that's a fucking great sport too. But that's more Irish than Scottish there. But to sum it all up, you know, hockey has made a lot of Canadians happy, made a lot of Canadians famous, made a lot of Canadians rich, and it helped a lot of kids develop and turn into functioning adults. Right? So, you know, if your lived experience, Miss Allen, was that's so fucking terrible because of the game of hockey, then okay, you don't have to associate it. And yet, you have every right to speak your mind like you did. And guess what? So does Don Cherry. Right? So, if you want to cut it up into equality, fine. You punish them both for saying such hideous things. Do I believe Don Cherry should have been fired for what he said? No, not really. Do I believe Miss Allen should have been fired for what she said? No, I don't. Right? But if you're going to fire Don, then you fire Jess too. Period. You know? They both have the right to speak their minds. Everybody in this country, as far as I'm concerned, has the right to speak their minds, to express themselves freely. Freedom of speech is paramount. And if you're constantly going to hide behind words and be scared, and oh my goodness, Don Cherry said, you people. Well, the panel of The Social kept saying, you people. Greta Thunberg has said, you people, how dare you? Right? Don didn't specify what race or what gender or what color or what ideology. He just told people to smarten up and take it into account. You know, nobody has to wear a poppy. Right? I made that point in my last podcast. You don't have to wear a poppy, but if something ain't broke, don't fix it. Right? And Mr. Cherry was just showing his appreciation and love for our veterans, our serving members, and for everybody who gave their lives for our country. And there's nothing wrong with that, folks, regardless of how you feel about warfare. You know? Those individuals that have sent me some hateful emails in the past week or so, you know, I don't sit around watching, Call of Duty, getting a semi, getting ready to, get out there and play the 5-knuckle shuffle. Some of those battles I've been through, and some of those battles I've witnessed, and a lot of my friends have incurred real battles with real bullets and screams and explosions and cracks and thumps and tracer rounds going overhead. You know, I'm going back to that again. I don't want to, but I'm making a point here. Well, if you're going to sit there and persecute any broadcaster for saying something, then you hold that person into account if he or she says something stupid, right? But you keep throwing the race card up there in this victimhood mentality, nothing is going to get done. You know? Oh, we have to cancel this. We have to stop this. We have to stop this person from saying this. Oh, we can't say these bad words. Oh, we can't do this. We can't do that. Yes, we constantly have to walk around on tiptoe on everyone's fucking feelings just so somebody doesn't get offended, right? You know, Jagmeet Singh in his infinite wisdom weighing in. Oh, this is a picture of my great-grandfather who fought in a war. Okay, that's great. That's fantastic. And I'm well aware of how many Sikhs stood up for the British Empire and did wonderful fucking things. You know, I'm well aware of how many Africans who stood up for the British Empire and did some wonderful things. I'm well aware of that. But the point Don Cherry was making is that if you come here, do what you can to show something. Show some support. You know, he wasn't pinpointing any race. Do I agree with his mode of delivery? Do I necessarily agree with it? Well, not entirely. But in the same sense, he didn't say anything racial either. So Mr. Singh, Don Cherry was not saying anything bad about your grandfather, right? And he's well aware there's numerous immigrants who have come to this country and a lot of First Nations who signed the dotted line for his or her majesty, respectively. So put the race card away, folks. It's not a racist issue, except when you keep mentioning white people like Miss Allen did. Yes, I know. We're the devils, aren't we, Miss Allen? Yeah, I know. Terrible us. Terrible me. Well, I should be ashamed for being a white male. You know, I should be ashamed for being employed, and I should be ashamed for paying my bills and paying my taxes and volunteering my time and effort to spend 20 years serving my nation. And then now I'm out, and I'm still working, still paying my bills, still paying my taxes. Right? Now I actually at a standstill for paying taxes right now because I'm encouraging people not to file until this government gets back to fucking work. Right? So while the outrage is going on about Don Cherry saying what he said and Jess Allen saying what she said, we have a government that just finished an election, 21st of October, and sure, now they're sidestepping and interviewing and talking with the Prime Minister and his infinite wisdom of progress. Yeah, right. And still, they're not back in Parliament yet. You know, they're going to sit in Parliament on the 5th of December and finally try to get back to work after how many months off? A couple months off to campaign for the election. You know, and of course, Justin had to take another fucking surfing trip, right? Oh, that's great, And now he's talking to all the opposition leaders, and Quebec's weighing in with their Le Québécois bullshit, and Elizabeth May stepping in, of course, and Jagmeet Singh and Andrew Scheer. And just, I don't know. It's a shit show, ladies and gentlemen. They fought hard for 2 months to be elected again or to get more seats, all parties. And now they have another couple months off before they get back to work. It must be nice, eh? Must be nice to earn $175,000 at minimum a year to go back to work 4 months after the fact, right? It must be really fucking nice. So no wonder the sentiment in Alberta and Saskatchewan is Wexit. The sentiment is just basically, okay, we're getting tired of this shit. A few people have actually asked me, how do you feel about Wexit, Krusty? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I love this nation. I love what Canada is. I love the fact that Alberta is a great province. I love the fact that Nunavut is a great territory. The BC is a great province. A lot of great people in this country, folks, and I hate to see it turn to shit because a handful of people in Ontario, and I'm not talking Ontarians, I'm talking about a handful of people in Ontario that are elected officials who cater to the few and ignore the many. Okay? And I really would like to take a shovel to Le Bloc Québécois leader, smack him over the head, not for the sake of encouraging violence, but to hear that nominal ding, you know what I mean? I'm not encouraging violence here, ladies and gentlemen, but I want to start knocking some sense into these politicians. What makes you so special? What makes you better than everybody else in the country? Right? You ride the coattails of diversity and you ride the coattails of inclusivity, and yet you're promoting non-inclusive agreements. You're promoting non-diverse agreements. La Belle Province and its infinite wisdom sitting there talking about the Bloc and how they should get this and get that, and yet they passed a Bill 21 that forbids anybody from wearing religious symbols at work. Okay, how is that being diverse and being inclusive? Right? I don't know. I don't like dwelling with these clowns because they all piss me off. And some of these Wexit guys who are talking about just separating just like that, I can see the logic of Wexit. I don't see the logic of Quebec separatism. I don't know. Maybe call me biased, whatever, but I don't know. I remember the Meech Lake Accord back in 95. And the people that wanted to stay barely won. It was a close margin, but you would think something like that would smarten the country up. Who we elect to call and who we put in charge of things here. And now you're having a Wexit issue, and a lot of people are weighing in, saying, yes, sure, yes, we got to, to find some kind of solidarity, to find prosperity, And like I've said before, I love Alberta. It's It's fucking fantastic out here. The people are great. You know, the social approach to things is fantastic. You know, and there is a lot of diversity out here, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't have to be skin colored. It has to be idea colored. You know, diversity of ideas. That's what moves us forward. Right? It's not a matter of having a ratio of how many Asians versus whites, or how many whites versus East Indians, or how many East Indians versus African descendants. It's a matter of who can bring the best knowledge to the game, who can bring the best ideas, who can prove that he or she has what it takes to get something on the go. But instead, we got to worry about this diversity issue, this dilemma, equity and quality and quotas, diversity quotas, gender quotas, right? It's one of the reasons why the pipeline wasn't get built, because they got some frickin' diversity quota in there, some gender quota, how it's going to socially impact people. Well, anything infrastructure, anything that's going to be built is going to have its impact on things. It's not just going to impact one woman or 10 men. It's going to impact all women and all men in that area. It doesn't take rocket science to figure that out. And usually if something's being built in a certain area, it's in the name of progress. So it's going to affect a lot of people, economically, socially, right? And of course the environment, which, you know, I believe in protecting the environment, but I'm also in cahoots with common sense too. I'm not going to go fishing one day and then dump my lunch garbage into the river. No, that's just stupid. I'm going to dispose of my waste stuff properly. But you're not going to turn around and charge me another 50 cents a liter of gasoline just to get to my fishing spot either, and call it you're protecting the environment. Anyhow, ghost hunting, as I mentioned earlier, ladies and gentlemen, that's what it is. Hunting down Don Cherry for what he said, hunting down Jess Allens for what she said. And as I mentioned numerous times in my videos, if you believe in free speech, then you do it. Can't say I believe in free speech, but you can't say this. Well, okay, but you can't walk into a theater and say fire, fire, fire during your favorite performance of the Transformers. No. That's just common sense. We don't do that. Conventional wisdom would dictate that. But if you're on a TV show once a week for about maybe 10, 15 minutes, like Don Cherry and Ron MacLean were respectively for the better part of 38 years, and you say this and you say that, why are we holding him accountable on such a high pedestal when you have shows like The Social and The View and The Chew and all these ladies' issues guaranteed shows, all talking about feelings and getting together, but you better comply to what we say or else mentality. Whew, now I can take a breath. That was a long little spurge. But anyway, think for yourself, folks. You know, like I said, there many times I disagree with Don Cherry and I disagree with Ron MacLean. You know, but they would what made Hockey Night in Canada worth watching sometimes too. You know, they're tongue in cheek and they're back and forth. Excellent. You know, and that was a staple in viewing for the better part of 40 years, ladies and gentlemen. And now we just got to stop because a handful of people are offended, or was a handful of guilty people, you know, people with a guilty conscience for some sort offended. Well, and yet where was the hidden outrage when Jess Allens said what she did? And thankfully there were people that wrote CTV and The Social and said, hey, what you said was wrong. But if you're going to fire Don, you should have fired Jess too. If it was up to me, I'd say I'd bring back Don and I said, okay, buds, tone down a bit on the fucking you people thing. And I'd tell Jess Allens, lay off this whole male privilege bullshit and this whole white boy crap, right? And then keep the airwaves, keep the airwaves open, right? Shit simple. You know, I don't think the whole Don Cherry dilemma is a big issue, but it's starting to prove what we're being allowed to say, what we're not being allowed to say, and who's allowed to say this and who isn't allowed to say this, right? It reminds me of a headline I read today about the whole new Charlie's Angel movie that Elizabeth Banks, you know her from Hunger Games and what the hell is that movie she made with Seth Rogen? Jim and Miri Make a Porno or something like that. It was a Kevin Smith film. It was quite funny. And some of her comments were, well, it's sexist men who don't make, or men who don't want to see female action stars or something like that. Because the movie only made something like $8 million on its initial release. It's only been out for maybe 2 or 3 days. So I guess to some business standards, that's flopping. But it just, it boggles my mind here. Not that I really care about a new Charlie's Angels movie or not. I could give two shits about it. I enjoyed the first one because it was funny. It was tongue-in-cheek. It was some humor. Some real talented actors in there who actually, enjoy what they do, and they weren't expecting any kind of gratuitous applause just because they were female. But what gets me is the moment something doesn't work for a director or for a producer or anybody for that matter, turn around and blame sexism for it. It's like, well, I don't know. I would sooner see Sigourney Weaver in Galaxy Quest 2 than go see a Charlie's Angels movie. I would sooner see Sigourney Weaver kicking aliens' asses, in another Aliens redo, or seeing her again in another Avatar, So, Elizabeth Banks, you're wrong. Meh. Next. Anyhow, back to more ghost hunts. We as a country, I like to think we're smarter than what the media is portraying us to be. Regardless of what you say, what you do, you're constantly being recorded and you're constantly being observed because of the advent of social media and the success it has created with some individuals, respectively. But I don't know. Looks like free speech is dying, so it's going to take people like myself and you, my listeners, and my fans out there alike, to get out there and speak your minds, speak your words, get them out there. We're finding more and more news streams being sequestered, being told what to say, what not to say, right? Considering that Justin Trudeau spent $595 million on, quote-unquote, bailing out fledgling media in this country. He obviously bought the media for that price, right? Regardless of what you believe in or not and who's cahoots with Facebook or Google alike, there are people are cracking down on people saying words and speaking their mind because they don't want to upset things. Yet when you stifle somebody, you stifle many. You don't just stifle the one, you stifle a few. They're seeing that trouble in Iran and Iraq right now, people getting out, getting words out, because there's citizens who are having enough of this bullshit. To my American friends and listeners out there, you know as well as I do, there are people being stifled left and right, regardless if they hold the left perspective or the right perspective. Right? I too have been called a far alt-right activist. Oh yeah, I'm so alt-right. I love my country and I wave my flag. I guess that makes me all right. Right? Well, you can say I have conservative values, I have libertarian values and liberal values. Live and let live, do what you want to do. But the moment you tell me I can't say something or I can't do something, I'm going to bloody well fucking ask you why. And you better give me a concrete answer. Not just, okay, boomer, or shut the fuck up, boomer. You're going to have to do a better comeback than that. That's funny, though, that okay boomer signs. Are you calling me boomer from Battlestar Galactica? Or do you think I'm an actual baby boomer? Think about it. Another pitiful attempt of the left's way of trying to shut people up because bad words scare them. So, anyhow, that's my spiel on Don Cherry. Hope him the best. I hear he's got a new podcast in the works. So I actually might take a chance and download what he has to say. And as for shows like The Social, I never really watched it to begin with. Like, to me, what I have watched on it is just a typical ripoff of The View down in the States there. And I don't watch The View either. I just think it's a fucking joke. Everybody weighing in and, oh, you can't say this and you can't say that and, oh, all these wonderful things. And I don't find they get enough perspectives out there on these TV shows. Well, that's just me, though. Anyway, Before I go, I'm going to do another promotion here. I'm still doing the $5 to $10 a month thing on my Subscribestar and on my GoFundMe and on my Patreon, which I re-added again. I updated that. So if you want to donate $5 to $10 a month, a committed donation of either or, I will mail you a free T-shirt of your choice from my Teespring line. Just once you commit that donation, I will graciously set aside a shirt for you. And just send me an email at crustybcanuck67@gmail.com, or you can reach me through my Facebook page at Krusty Canuck or on Instagram at Canuck Krusty. You can also find me in IDW under Krusty Canuck. You can't miss the logo there. I'll leave the links at the bottom here, and I'm still going to give 30% of every donation and every sale to the Veterans Association Food Bank. I have already mailed them a check. Well, correction, the check is in the works here. I'm still accumulating some funds for my last fundraiser, but I will be giving Veterans Association Food Bank a healthy $500. Yes, you heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. I've accumulated enough funds to give the Veterans Association Food Bank $500 from people like yourself who have contributed. And I want to thank you very much for the healthy contributions I did receive for that fundraiser. And I also want to thank my new subscribers who have come and gone far and wide. Thank you for subscribing, and thank you for the wonderful comments I have received here in the Podbean, and comments I've received on YouTube and through Facebook. Thank you very much. To the haters out there, you just keep on hating and handing me your ignorant rhetoric. Keep calling me boomer. That's fine. I was born in the 70s, but you flatter me because all the boomers that I know have guided me to do wonderful things because of their wisdom and their patience. So, yeah, when you call somebody a boomer, guess what? It's a fucking compliment. And those individuals who have given me a thumbs up and everything, thank you very much for your support. As I say again, if you donate $5 to $10 a month on my Subscribestar or my Patreon or in my GoFundMe, let me know you're giving a commitment of a certain price, and I will mail you a T-shirt from my Teespring line. Or if you want, you can just grab a T-shirt from the line yourself. Or if you just want to donate and don't want any T-shirts, that's fine too. And as I said, 30% of every donation I will graciously give to the Veterans Association Food Bank. I have already set aside $500 that has been donated to my cause for the Veterans Association Food Bank because of listeners and viewers such as yourself. Thank you very much. And without further ado, I have been Krusty Canuck, ladies and gentlemen, on this beautiful 19th of November, 2019. Remembrance Day has been done. I did my part. Hope you did your part too. And all I can say is keep freedom of speech alive, freedom of expression alive, you know. Let's keep the debates going. Let's keep dialogue going. Let's keep everything out there open and honest to the best of our abilities. You know, who cares if some lefty kid calls you a fascist? These kids don't know what fascism is. They think communism is the way it's at, and they're fucking farly mistaken. You know, democracy is where it's at. But let's keep this democracy open. Let's keep this democracy as free as possible. Keep the words going. Keep the dialogue going. And do what we can. Make sense of all this. Anyhow, I've been Krusty Canuck. Take care of yourselves. Look after your family and loved ones. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, humanity and merit wins the day. See you next time. Bye for now.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Oh, yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here.